Yeah, things look a little different this morning, and they're going to look a little different today and tomorrow, at least according to technology. John, hear you there. Thanks for dropping by, as you always do here on SDH. And yeah, all right. So I guess this is kind of opening kickoff ish. So, we weren't here for a week. And so not being here for a week, things have a tendency to, perhaps maybe go a little sideways. And apparently they did. So yesterday, we were running through the southeastern part of the planet trying to come home. And, we got home. It was a pretty decent drive. Derek, good morning. We will contemplate. That is on the rundown this morning. So running through the southeastern part of the planet, I don't know if you guys were listening to the Manchester City match yesterday with Ipswich, but traditionally what I will do when I'm driving back from the southeastern part of the United States, from the Gulf, and coming back here to the office, is I will reach out to the network that's calling the Premier League games. And what I'll do is I'll sit there and say, yeah, and we're driving back from the Gulf of Mexico, blah, blah, blah. So I did that. We got home yesterday, 5:30 in the afternoon, 7-hour drive from the Gulf to here. And we got home and things were not as we left them. Fortunately, and I guess this is opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. We'll get into the promo in a bit. So coming home after a week, then we know what's going on with all of the, all the weather and things like that. So we have to prepare for that. So we come home. We left the faucets running while we were gone. So that was fine. But the internet and the cable in 2/3 of the house decided to kind of take a vacation of its own, and they've yet to return from vacation. So right now, as things stand, this is my best friend. This is our best friend here this morning. So all the devices down here in the office are running off of MiFi bricks and how do we phrase? And hotspots. So I apologize ahead of time today and tomorrow if the reception's a little wonky from down here in the office, and we'll navigate through it because our Wi-Fi and cable television overlords are set to be here tomorrow afternoon after tomorrow's show to reset everything. And the weird thing is that here at Office HD, we have two separate head ends. We have two separate connections. So the weird thing is that the cable television works here in the office, and I would pick up the monitor and I would spin it just so you could see what's going on, and so that's a little goofy. But the cable TV down here in the office works, and that's how we got to watch American football yesterday when we got home and we were trying to get everything all squared away back here in the house. But the internet is gone all the way through the house. Internet does not exist. So our Wi-Fi setup and our setup, it's not here. It does not exist. So that's why this is our friend, and hotspots are our friends for the show today and tomorrow. So that's the situation. Like I said, I apologize ahead of time if the reception's a little wonky and if my reaction time is a little slow to things. So, like I said, I have a couple of devices that are up and running, and we'll see how well they behave. So I beg your forbearance for today and tomorrow. And, as you guys are some of the best producers out there, if anything happens, let me know, and you'll probably get to it faster than I will, and then we can all talk about it. So opening kickoff is the fact that things are going to be a little different, as you can tell by the camera angle today. It is not looking this way. It is looking this way at you. So once again, thanks for hanging out with us and being the part of everything that you are. Good morning, Alex. Morning, Abby. And morning, David. Morning, everybody. So, all right. So here's what's on the agenda this morning. We obviously have the news of the weekend to get into. We've got all of that stuff to discuss. If you missed Morning Espresso, or if you haven't had the chance to catch up with Jason and Morning Espresso, we'll run through all of those other different things. So we'll run through all the news of the weekend. We'll get you ready for the week that will be. We are chasing some guests for tomorrow. And they have to do with the pursuits that are going on with Atlanta United coming up here in the transfer window. No updates as of yet, but what I will do as a part of everything going on is I will do the perfunctory search on the 280 character app, and we will see if there is anything that is new. And I do not believe that to be the case. So, like I said, I'm searching through everything that is going on, and probably the news involving one player in particular was that at the match this weekend, and Alex can vouch, that our friend Miguel Almiron got the war banner treatment at what is anticipated to be his last match with Newcastle. So he got the war banner treatment there. And Emmanuel Latte-Lath started and scored for Middlesbrough in their match this weekend as they continue to try and navigate, meaning Middlesbrough, navigate the promotion battle that they are currently in, and trying to also navigate possibly losing their leading scorer. So that is where things stand. I know it's not really all that exciting, but right now, looking at some of the numbers, Latte-Lath right now is number 6 in top 10 minutes per goal scored. So that's the kind of output that you're seeing from Emmanuel Latte-Lath in the championship. And Michael Carrick, he made a selection point, according to our friends at Tees Side Live over the weekend. So, subject of a transfer bid, but continues to play for Borough. Michael Carrick insists he'll have no hesitation in continuing to pick Emmanuel Latte-Lath amid doubts over his Middlesbrough future. There remains uncertainty over whether Latte-Lath will stay at Borough this month after Atlanta United's offer remains open for negotiations. Tees Side Live, once again, Tees Side Live, the newspaper from the weekend. Their initial bid was understood to be worth £18 million with a further $2 million in add-ons, while the MLS side are also offering the striker a huge wage hike. However, as yet, there has been no bid accepted by Borough, and the Ivorian remained in the side on Saturday at Portsmouth. And though Borough lost to drop out of the playoff places, Latte-Lath proved his continued importance and also commitment as he netted his 11th goal of the season. Asked about the Ivorian's future and continued selection after the game, the Borough boss said, quote, "For sure he'll keep playing. He's a big part of the group, and he played well today, and he scored, so I was really happy with Manu today. There's no change in his situation," end quote. As things stand, Atlanta United's offer, which would be a record fee paid by an MLS side for a player, is the only one on the table for Borough. There's been much talk of Premier League interest in the center forward, but that's yet to materialize into an actual offer. And with nothing yet agreed with Atlanta, who are also considering Crystal Palace striker Odsonne Edouard, Latte-Lath looks to set to continue in the Borough side on Tuesday evening when Tony Mowbray's West Brom visit the Riverside. Borough would still love to keep the striker this month and have Tommy Conway on the comeback trail after injury too. However, with such a serious offer needing consideration, Borough are also working on potential replacements to be ready should things progress and Latte-Lath leaves. So that is the latest involving Emmanuel Latte-Lath after this past weekend, when we are trying to look at Miguel Almiron and trying to look at Emmanuel Latte-Lath. Those two transactions still there for Atlanta United. So after I take that right turn. Officially, I guess that's something of an opening kickoff. So just like I said, just where opening kickoff is concerned, this is the angle, unless the internet gets fixed, by the show tomorrow morning, which I'm not anticipating. This will be the angle that we're pursuing here on the show. So that's opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. What you can do is you can kick off your day with Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. And when you do that, we would encourage that you buy the store out. But, you can buy the store out, but you can also do it at a 15% discount. So how do you do that, you ask? Use the code SoccerDownHere15 at checkout. Then they, in turn, they meaning our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com, will take 10%, reinvest it into youth games, youth initiatives, thanks to our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. You see me wearing the old retro gear today because I needed a sweatshirt and I needed it in a hurry. So what you can do, a couple different places, and it is you can get the soccer is just better in Atlanta from our friends at Grady Baby and Grady Baby Co. And what you can do there is pick it up in red, pick it up in black. And when you help out with the collaboration with our friends at Grady Baby and Grady Baby Co., a portion of the proceeds go to benefiting middle school soccer programs attached to Atlanta Public Schools. So very, very cool stuff from our friends with Grady Baby Co., and they've also got a lot of other great gear. But our collaboration is the soccer is just better in Atlanta stuff that you see me wearing on the show occasionally, that you'll see Jason wearing on the network occasionally. So you've got that. You also have, through our friends at Olive & York, you've got the first ever Soccer Down Here jersey. Thanks to our friends at Kaiser Permanente, thanks to our friends at Beyond Goals. And when you go to Olive & York and you pick up the navy, the overtly navy Soccer Down Here jersey, you can purchase it with either white letters and numbers or light blue letters and numbers. So you can go either light blue on navy or white on navy with our friends at Olive & York. And with our friends at Olive & York, once again, a portion of those proceeds are earmarked to our Soccer for Good that we're focusing on here in 2025. Also, you can still grab your Marshall Islands gear, and you can go to the Marshall Islands store, and you can help out the Marshall Islands. And the scarves are still available. I still have scarves here in the office. They're behind this door, actually. They're behind this door. And I have to send a scarf to Fort Wayne, Indiana, I believe, coming up next time I can make it to the post office. So you can help out the Marshall Islands. You can buy all of their gear. They have their 2030 No Home jersey. And you can pick that up. You can pick up the original one that was orchestrated through our friends at Player Layer. And you can help out our friends at the Marshall Islands as we go. Now, this weekend, did I get everybody? Yeah, I think I got everybody. So it's the Marshall Islands. It's Olive & York for the jersey. It's Grady Baby Co. You can go to soccerdownhere.net, and you can also hit the shop. You can go into our shop, and you can also get more up-to-date stuff as well with the SDH network. Also, this weekend, I don't know if you know, but there's a match to be played. And we'll try to catch up with our friends from Chattanooga FC as we get closer to the weekend, and we'll find out what their expectations are, who's in, who's out, who's not around. There are some folks from last year's roster from MLS Next Pro and Chattanooga FC that are not there presently. So Anatoly Prepolita is one of those folks, and he is actually in Statesboro with South Georgia Tormenta. So thoughts, obviously, with the impending weather that is coming to south of the Nat line. It's going to be an odd look. So it's supposed to be snowing here tomorrow, but south of the Nat line could get out of control, 3 to 5 inches of snow. So obviously our thoughts are with everybody south of the Nat line, and everybody apparently all the way down to like Brownsville, Texas could be getting snow, but we'll keep an eye on all of that. But anyway, reminder, there's a match to be played involving Chattanooga FC in Chattanooga this weekend. I think that Abby had said that temperatures are going to be in the 40s. So come and dress warmly. We may have something for you involving a roof over your head should you wish to stay in town for any particular length of time, either before the match, through the match, after the match, what have you. So we may have some wording on that as we get later in the week. Once again, set your bookmarks here, and you can take a peek at what might be going on in Chattanooga before and or after the match, involving you possibly not having to turn around, drive up to Chattanooga, watch a match, turn around, and go home. So keep an eye on that. In the industry, we call that a tease. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. Jim Cantori, by the way, is in Houston, and he's talking to the mayor of Houston right now, John Whitmire. So, all right, winter storm warning with Enzo. Obviously, we'll keep an eye on our friends all along the Gulf Coast. So, man, I'm guessing that the boss and I actually got out early, and we got out at the right time. So, Jordan, the Gulf Coast may actually be rivaling you when it comes to precipitation coming up. So, as we get into all the news of the day and the news of today, what I would like from you guys, this is my request for the morning. I want to know, as we get into the matchup with Chattanooga, what you're looking forward to seeing. What's on the to-do list? What's on the board? What's on the list of, okay, looking forward to seeing this, looking forward to seeing this individual, looking forward to seeing this formationally, looking forward to seeing this out of Ronnie Dyla, looking forward to seeing A, B, C, D, E. I want to know what you're looking forward to. And this will be a topic that we kind of carry through the week as we obviously get closer to playing in Chattanooga. But what I want to know what you're looking forward to as we get closer to being in Chattanooga and playing Chattanooga FC for Atlanta United on the weekend. I know that there's a football game that is going on, an American football game at Mercedes-Benz Stadium that's happening tonight. Casually, we'll be watching. I don't have a dog in the fight. It's a 7 and an 8. I'm sure there'll be a lot of folks here, and it'll be a party. But I think the boss and I, and once again, full disclosure, the boss is having surgery on the wrist. And so she is going to have her outpatient surgery after the show this morning. So we're going to check in with her physician, and I firmly anticipate that she's probably going to be in bed as of about 7 o'clock tonight. She may not see any of the game, but the injury that she sustained 3 weeks ago, they're going to go operating on it. They're going to put a plate in her wrist, I think about right here. So after the show, we're taking her to see her physician, and so she is getting her plate put in to help with the healing process. So we're leaving after the show, and she's going to get that plate put in her wrist because she's now on her second cast because some of the swelling has gone down, but they're going to put in the plate early this afternoon. And so I don't anticipate that the boss is going to be watching a whole lot of the game. So I may, but I think that I'll be keeping an eye on the boss and seeing if everything is okay with what's going on there. But I want to know across the board, as Michael Head says, no injuries. That'd be a win. Yes. So Michael Head probably has the number one thought and philosophy coming into the matchup with Chattanooga. And obviously, we'll go over what's going on with the roster and preview Chattanooga and all those kinds of things. We'll get into that, like I said, later in the week. We're planning for Friday for the Friday preview. We'll see about practice times and things like that. If we have to tape something on Thursday and air it on Friday morning, we will. But I'm going to reach out to our friends at Chattanooga FC and see what we can do when it comes to previewing Chattanooga FC season in MLS Next Pro. But this probably right here is the number one thought pattern for Atlanta United fans going up against Chattanooga FC, because then a week later you go to Birmingham, and then after that you go to IMG Academy. You've got 2 matches in 5 days before you turn around and have your last match here on the 15th, going up against FC Dallas at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground, and then the season opener on the 22nd against CF Montreal. And we'll see how they look. A month away from the beginning of the 2025 regular season. I know a lot of folks are like, well, what are you going to do to fill time? we got stuff to talk about. We always have stuff to talk about. We'll get into the Premier League too. But like I said, tomorrow we are efforting for tomorrow's show someone who got to see, or gets to see a lot of the Premier League on a daily basis, and came overseas here to the colonies to check out the Chelsea tour. And like I said, we are efforting this guest, and we'll see if this particular guest can come on and discuss Miguel Almiron, Emmanuel Latelath, what's going on in the Premier League, all those kinds of things. So we are efforting a guest for tomorrow that is up close and personal with the Premier League, and he's there. So we can go and hang out with there. And thank you, Ricky. Hoping for the best for the boss. Yes. That's what you're staring at. Jordan, looking forward to connecting and just enjoying with the TL family and a win. So we'll see what happens there. We'll go over your thoughts. But once again, I want to know when it comes to individuals. I want to know when it comes to philosophy. I want to know what it comes. Yes, you're playing Chattanooga FC and MLS Next Pro Team. Any of the young guys that you're looking forward to. That's what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to seeing the younger guys that are going to be a part of things. I know that, and let me do one more search, and it has to do with personnel involving Atlanta United. And it came about on the weekend where it was discussed that Luis Abram is being looked at by clubs in the Brasileiro. So I want to try and find the actual conversation, and I think it started with Cesar Luis Merlo, and he's a very, very busy man. Cesar Luis Merlo is one of your Tier S sources, Tier 1 sources. He's one of the guys that you need to follow. So then we'll get into all of the other moves and things that are happening and all of that kind of thing. But and there are a lot of big names that were floated about. But Luis Abram was named by Cesar Luis Merlo yesterday. And here's what Cesar Luis Merlo said. Several Brazilian clubs have put their interest in Luis Abram, the Peruvian defender of Atlanta United. If a specific offer arrives from that market, the footballer is willing to consider it. So that's what Cesar Luis Merlo said yesterday involving Luis Abram. So the question is, once again, and this goes to what we've been discussing in the past, when it comes to assets and things like that, if someone is going to be discussed, DISCUSSED, then, once again, this month of the season, Atlanta United is obviously, Luis Abram, it was mentioned by Merlo that Luis Abram will listen with folks from the Brasileiro. And yes, Ricky, we're going to be getting into that topic too. So once again, we always get into the discussion about players as players and players on players as assets. And when we have this discussion, it's always about controlling the asset. Like with Erling Haaland. Erling Haaland signs a 9-year contract to stay with Manchester City. I don't think if he stays with Manchester City until 2034, I will be surprised. But what you do in that regard, signing him to this incredibly lucrative contract, one, you give him the incentive to do well at Manchester City and continue to do well and be rewarded for the player that he's become. But at the same time, also, you are in control of the asset. And I know that we have had this discussion in the past about controlling an asset and making sure that you do not lose control of an asset at any given time. And Luis Abram's salary, and I know that a lot of folks have been anchored to that. According to the MLSPA, base salary last year, $732,275. Guaranteed compensation, $871,888. So that was Luis Abrahm's number. And what you are presented with when it comes to Luis Abraham is that salary figure, but at the same time, you have him signed to a deal, and he's part of your family. And what you do in this case is you make sure, and much like the Santi Sosa situation involving Atlanta United, you make sure that you have the individual under contract. So if someone comes knocking on your door, doesn't matter if it's day one or year 4, that they are having a discussion with you and the player about possible interest. And Luis Abraham, we have gotten into the log jam that is at the back. We've talked about it and all of the interest that is going on at the back for Atlanta United, where left back you and center back you are front and center. Right now, the way things stand at the back for Atlanta United, you're looking at all of the folks that are there: Noah Cobb, Efren Morales, Matthew Edwards, all of the younger players that are there. And I'm specifically talking about center back and left-hand side, but we'll go through all of the names that are associated. Ronald Hernandez at the right. Then you've got Derek Williams, who is there. Noah Cobb is a supplemental. Efren Morales is a supplemental. Stian Gregerson is at the back. And then you have all of the other players that we have seen that are part of the discussion. Pedro Amador at the left. Like I said, so it's Pedro Amador at the left, Matthew Edwards. You're looking at Noah Cobb, Derek Williams, Stian Gregerson, Ronald Hernandez, Brooks Lennon when he comes back from injury, and Luis Abraham is a part of that discussion as well. So currently, he's under contract with Atlanta United. And if teams from the Brasileiro come knocking on your door and they're like, hey, we want to have him as a part of our family going forward, for Atlanta United, for them to pick up the phone should be something that's fairly normal. And any club comes calling for a player, you sit there and you pick up the phone and go, okay, let's talk. Luis Abraham's salary figure, $871,888. That is high end. So then when you have, and we'll go through the salaries here involving the players for Atlanta United at the back. We'll go through that. So we'll do it that way. We'll just focus on the players at the back. Like I said, we'd mentioned what Luis Abraham, what his salary figure is. So Pedro Amador right now, and this is guaranteed compensation last year. Pedro Amador, $242,612. And then obviously there are players that are no longer a part of the Atlanta United roster in 2025. I'll try to skip past those as best I can. And if I forget that someone's not here and give you a salary number, that was their last year number. Noah Cobb received, and I want to say this is veteran minimum, $89,716. Matthew Edwards, rookie minimum, $71,401. Gregerson, $1 million in base, guaranteed compensation, $1.2. Ronald right now, $450,000. Like I said, this was last year's number. I don't have this year's numbers if there have been renegotiations. This is through the MLSPA. So Brooks at $740, base and guaranteed. That was what Brooks was getting last year. Efren Morales, base was veteran minimum $89,716, but he did have some escalators at $97,735. Continuing, looking at the back, Derek Williams, 400 base, 447.5 was his salary figure. So by far, Luis Abram was the most expensive player you had, one of the most expensive players that you had at the back. You had Steon Gregerson at 1.2, and you had Luis Abram at 871, 888. With all of the younger players coming up through the system, Matthew Edwards, Noah Cobb, Efren Morales, you have all of that activity, Pedro Amador, specifically where Abram spent most of his time on the left-hand side. So if we go left center back, left back, that's what you're going up against. You're going up against Morales, Cobb, and Matthew Edwards with all of the young talent that Atlanta United is trying to bring up through the system. So having a player that where you have a logjam being created with a lot of the younger talent and the Brasileiro knocking on your door, you're going to pick up the phone. But the one thing that I would just ask you to remember in situations like this, that when you had, and like I said, I will reference the Santiago Sosa situation. You had Santiago Sosa under contract. And a lot of folks were going, well, why do you have Santiago Sosa under contract? And hang on, let me grab the number. You had Santiago Sosa, who was making $778,100 last year. So that was a part of the salary system, or the roster cap, the capped roster that Atlanta United had. So Santi Sosa was $778,100. But what you don't want to do, is that a double negative? But what you don't want to do is let a player go on a free and lose out on getting anything in return. So that's what happened with Santi Sosa. Rossing knocked on your door. Santi Sosa was out on loan, but Rossing knocked on your door and like, hey, we'd like to kind of have Santi Sosa be a part of things. And because he was in your roster, you got a financial return on him. So that's kind of where things were. Same with any player on any roster at any given time, because there's always going to be interest. But in the Sosa case and in the Abram case, Brasileiro team's knocking on the door. Okay. But once again, you're not giving, if it comes to pass where a team in the Brasileiro is interested in Luis Abram, you're not giving him up for nothing. I still think that's a double negative. But you would be getting something in return if there was a team in the Brasileiro that was interested in Luis Abram. Luis Abram was interested in going to the Brasileiro and playing professionally in Brazil. So you have a player with a large salary number. You've got younger players coming up from behind that seem to be ready for their moment. If you remember the response that Garth Lagerwey had for Noah Cobb after the game in Fort Lauderdale against Messi and friends, I think that you'll see a lot of anticipated activity from Noah Cobb in 2025. As an example, I think this is a year where Efren Morales is going to have to show what he can bring to the table. And so the left backs and the center backs that Atlanta United are developing have that opportunity, and they're going to be competing on a daily basis at camp against Luis Abram. And so we'll see where that goes. But it came out with Merlo on the weekend that teams in the Brasileiro were interested. So we'll see where that goes. So you're looking at inbound, Latte Lath, not being afraid to be played by Michael Carrick in Middlesbrough. So keep an eye on the Middlesbrough roster going forward and the Middlesbrough fixtures. Still the 18+2 numbers on the board. The discussion about Odson Edouard, I think it's just being put out there. Like I said, I have no basis of bearing in fact. I saw that there is no, after the initial kicking of the tires and what we saw from last week from Semi Mokbel with the four-letter paper, I have seen nothing since then. So I don't know if that is advanced. Once again, we'll grab our friendly device here, and we'll see if anything has come down involving Odson Edward and the latest with him. A lot of the Leicester follower sites, the decision to use up one of Leicester's two Premier League loan spots on striker Odson Edward has been a disaster. The decision to use, and you see all these bots that are working their way, and they magically are saying the same thing. So you have a report, and I will call it that United has reportedly submitted the £15 million offer, but we knew that last week, if not 2 weeks ago. So in the latest information, once again, we will. All right, now what I'm going to do, there was an alleged update, and I say alleged, where things could be, there could be something else attached. And like I said, I'm trying to slide down and see if I can find the latest. But that's the beauty of these papers. You sit there and you're trying to go, okay, where is it? Where's the latest? And I'd love to know where the latest is. Peyton and Florini. And it has to do with another one of those aggregator papers that is more than happy to sit there and look at other things. Leicester's still in the market for new signings, according to Ruud van Nistelrooy. New recruit Woyo Koulibaly left out of the squad for Fulham due to his paperwork issues, meaning he could train, and that's about it. So they're looking for new folks. And boy, are they really looking for new folks. So here's what we'll do. We will use the search engine function for this particular paper, and I use the word paper loosely when it comes to this particular individual and this particular paper. So let's see if there is a latest, because I've literally scrolled. They're like, oh, yeah, there's a latest. There's an absolute latest. Okay, so where is the absolute latest? Where's the latest? As of August of last year, Odson Edward loses all confidence. Ren, by the way, is looking at Kyogo Furuhashi. So Furuhashi-san might be headed to Ligue 1. A Kyogo and Jota swap option as a Ren's change of heart could see an Edward factor in. Oh, boy. Okay, so Odson Edward could even factor in as the intriguing saga promises to play out before the end of the window. Latest from the U.S. is Atlanta United have cooled on him after learning he's not as keen on them as they are on him. So, interest perhaps has cooled on Odson Edward because he ain't all that about Major League Soccer and Atlanta United. So we'll see if the unwanted Celtic hero is sees MLS switch hit a major roadblock amid a career crossroads. So all I needed to see really was the report from late last week from this particular paper where it appears that Odson Edward ain't all that about Major League Soccer, and specifically, I guess, Atlanta United. So the 15 million pound offer on the table. Odds on Edouard, apparently, according to one paper overseas, and this is last week, this is not anything new, that interest had cooled because Odds on Edouard wasn't all that keen on Major League Soccer and a move to the United States. All right, so then for me, that book should be closed. The Odds on Edouard book should be closed. Absolutely, it should. If you ain't interested in dropping by, then thanks for coming by, and we'll go elsewhere. So that I think is where we should be when it comes to any kind of a report or anything else advanced involving Odds on Edouard. So there you go. And ropes, we do need to discuss what's going on in the Premier League. We'll do that in hour number 2. We've still got, and Bart is actually functioning today outside of his home office. So we will discuss what happened during Camp Cupcake in hour number 2. We'll go through all the numbers. We'll go through the unique storylines that are there that are attached, and we'll pursue all of those things coming up in hour number 2. So USMNT in hour number 2, the Premier League in hour number 2. Like I said, we are efforting a guest from that side of the pond tomorrow to discuss Latte Loth, to discuss Miguel Almiron, to discuss Odds on Edouard or anything else, and to discuss what's going on in the Premier League, because this individual got to watch that match that you're talking about, ropes, on the weekend. So we'll get into that. So no update on Latte Loth. Still looked at 18 plus 2. Like I said, we were looking at T-Side Live and getting the latest from there. Michael Carrick's still not afraid to put Latte Loth in a starting lineup. Nothing new on Miguel Almiron, but the thought was on Miggy that we're still at personal terms. So that's where we are involving personal terms. Quoting one of our sources, all depends on now if Almiron finalizes personal terms after the game today, and that was done on Saturday. So that's where we are involving Miguel Almiron with one of our sources here at SDH Network. So personal terms, that's where we are. Teams have agreed on a number. Now it's about getting personal terms for Miguel Almiron and having him come back to Major League Soccer, specifically, and coming back to Atlanta United. Okay. All right. News of the morning involving all the transfers and all of that kind of stuff. Abby saying there were guesses for today from some. Well, and you know what, Abby? If that does go down today, then it will happen after the show. And I know that folks were looking at like 12:20 Eastern time on Monday afternoon. It would give us something to discuss with this guest that we are chasing for tomorrow. So we'll keep an eye on all of that. I know that you will, and I'm fairly certain that something will happen when the show's off the air after 11:05 this morning. And once again, we'll be back. Rundown, like I said, we are efforting a guest from the other side of the pond for tomorrow's show. Wednesday should be as normal, and the discussion with Tyler Pilgrim and our friends at Scarves and Spikes, we'll have that at 9:15. Chasing after the busiest man in the Northeast, Dylan Butler, see if we can get his thoughts on Major League Soccer. But Dylan right now is hip deep in high school basketball, and that's really big up in the Northeast. So trying to catch Dylan is like trying to catch water through an open hand. And then so we'll discuss everything else that's going on Wednesday. Thursday is your Power Hour with Nino and Nico. And Friday will be your preview, getting you ready for Atlanta United's first preseason opener involving Chattanooga FC. And like I said, we are efforting the Chattanooga perspective on Friday's show, like I said, either on tape or live. And we'll get into that on the show on Friday. So that is the week that will be when it comes to Atlanta United. So that's what's to anticipate. All right, let me say hi to everybody who's in, and we will get what's on your mind. Like I said, I want to know, and like I said, this can be a continuing thing as to what you are looking for and what you may be looking after when it comes to Atlanta United. We'll get into all of that. So, morning, Derek. Morning, Pars. Pars and his Villa doing fairly well. So, Pars and his new Villa fandom doing pretty well so far in the Premier League. Let's see. Morning, Zeus. Thank you for asking, but I think we're good. Morning, Jay. Morning, Abby. Morning, Alex. Morning, David. Morning, Harry. Morning for OG. And yes, we are officially on Mickey Watch. Morning, Michael Valverde. Morning, Four Card. I know it's odd. Four Card says it's opposite day on Sesame Street, on the Sesame Street video that his son was just watching. I know it's a little odd. So for those that are late, really quickly, the short version is the internet's out in the house. And so what we're doing today, hopefully not tomorrow, but they said that they would be here after the show tomorrow. We're doing it off of our friend the MiFi brick and from our friend the Hotspot. So that's how we're kind of keeping up on all the information. So I would ask all of you intrepid producers today and tomorrow once again just to keep us posted on all the info, because you're faster on the draw than I am normally, and you'll be even more faster on the draw in this current situation because I am one device down. And so I've had to fire up tablets and have phones ready with hotspots, all of the things. So that is that's where we are. That's the short version. Internet went boom while we were gone at the beach. So that's why things look a little weird, Four Card, from this angle as opposed to the normal angle of me staring straight ahead and you having everything else behind. So this way you kind of get a bit of a look at the hat train track. Let's see if I could do this here. There we go. The hat train track. If I do it that way, I think I get away with it. The hat train track and some of the other scarves and some of the other things that we have here in the office in the corner. So let's see. Morning, Ricky. Morning, and we got to talk about Jordan. I think Jordan might be getting Hudson Valley, New York. Got 3 to 4 inches of snow, and like I said, below the gnat line tomorrow, they're going to be getting a lot more than that. So that will be intriguing to see how that is. Michael had obviously no injuries. That'd be a win. Yes, this time of year, absolutely. Ricky flew back into Atlanta. Morning, Ricky. Flew back into the ATL last night. So plenty of those folks who would be attending said football game. I've heard that ticket prices. Actually, tell you what. Let's look at ticket prices, shall we? Well, let's look at the ticket prices. And so let's see. If we go to CFB playoff. All right. So we're going to the number one named ticket outlet to see what the prices are. So I hit find tickets for tonight's championship game in college football. Accept and continue. Sure, why not? Okay. So apparently, secondary market get-in price. Well, okay. So it didn't move all that much. Okay. So if you're looking to just get in the door tonight, downtown, top level, 341, 327, 303, and 304. It is a verified resale ticket. Get-in price over $2,000. That is what we refer to as a hard pass. That is not happening in this household. So that is definitely not the way that it's going to be when it comes to going to said football game. We're watching on TV. Boss will probably be asleep. Yes, and once again, the boss, surgery on the wrist for falling down when she was helping out her mom a couple weeks ago. So we'll see how she responds to that. I'm imagining a lot of Advil. Yeah, let's see. So morning, Derek. Morning, Alex. Let's see. Morning, Michael. Morning, Ricky. Emilio with a question. Regarding controlling the asset, how is having a 10-year contract more in control than, say, 5 years? When it comes to release clauses, so this is two separate runways here. If you're signing a player initially, if you are signing a player initially, then what you are looking at is defraying the cost of the release clause. Like I said, and this is mainly what we're looking at in places overseas. So, as an example, when Chelsea signed Mihailo Mudryk to the contract that they did, I think it was a $64 million release clause. So what they did is they signed him to an 8-year deal. And this was before the rules changed, and it was different. But what you ended up doing was defraying the cost of the release clause and spreading it out over 8 years instead of 5 or 3 or what have you. So that way on the books, you could take the release clause and put it on your books once again as $8 million a year over 8 years. Instead of, we had to sign it, we got the release clause and it was $64 million. Rules are slightly changed, but that was the old way, is you were defraying the cost of the release clause and the money that you paid. So on a smaller scale, in Major League Soccer, if a team pays someone, club, Defensa y Justicia, let's just say, or Independiente del Valle, you have a team. Let's do it this way. Let's go to, because I have no knowledge of anything, of anyone, of any player. So let's just say, if I could spell Justicia, Defensa y Justicia. So if we spell Defensa y Justicia properly, and you go to Transfermarkt, and you are chasing after one of their players, Spieler detail, and it's thinking. So Lord knows how long it's going to take to think. So what if we used a separate device to try to see if we could come up with, okay, so it looks like it might be responding. Like I said, this is why I apologize ahead of time over the next couple days, because of the speeds not being lightning speeds when it comes to the actual clubs. So apparently Transfermarkt is looking at me funny. So, all right. So if we do this and go Defensa y Justicia, I don't want to go to the Sitio Oficial. I want to go to Transfermarkt. Okay, club profile, Defensa y Justicia. So we're looking at the market value of players. And yes, I know that there is an English version of Transfermarkt, transfermarkt.us. And I'm going to have to do this whole search again. And this is really defeating the whole thought of trying to do this and come up with an example of a player and a team. Okay. All right. So fine. They don't want to behave this morning either. All right. So let's just say there is a player. His name's Alex Piscine. And Alex has a great right foot, and he is at Independiente del Valle. So if Alex were to have a value of, say, 15 million US, 15 million US, what you could do is you could sign Alex Piscine from Independiente del Valle. And what you could do is, if you signed him to a 3-year deal, you could defer that 15 million over 3 years. It's 5 million a year. Or you could sign him to a 5-year deal and defray the cost and have it be worth only 3 million on your books every single season. So that is, so that's where the controlling of the asset and the length of the deal is. The length of a deal in a Holland case where you are re-upping that individual, what you have there is you're signing him to this astronomical contract. You have the possibility of a team who is interested. Then what you would have in that case is a team that would be interested in a player where you end up with, in this case, the agreement has notably removed previous release clauses, focusing on a stable future for Manchester City and for Holland. So 9.5 years, Ornstein release clause valid from 29, but only available at very high numbers. So what you're doing is you're keeping him in-house for a while, but if somebody's interested, you've really got to pay the man. So you're hanging on to him. And if somebody wants to knock on your door and with a massive amount of money, like if they come at you, $650 million release clause, Manchester City would be silly to not even look at that. But release clauses knocked out, other release clauses put in. What you're doing is you're making it a home for the player. And at the same time, what you're doing is if somebody's really interested, the release clause is hell. So that's kind of where we are with those kinds of players. Basically, if you wanted to sign Alex Pacine to a 3 or a 5, it just comes to how much you want to defray when it comes to the cost with your books. With somebody like Holland, a 10 versus a 5 or a 9.5, what you've done is you're going to pay him well, but you've taken out old release clauses, put new release clauses in that you would imagine as the player gets to his prime of his career, late 20s, early 30s, that somebody's really interested, they're going to have to pay the man. But that's where the 10 versus the 5 comes in, or, a number versus another number comes to the average cost. In hockey, Emilio, we think of it as AAV when we're looking at contracts and such. So AAV would be 3 or 5 if you want to sign them to 15. It just depends on the length of the contract. So that's where it is. It's AAV if you want to put it into hockey terms. And thank you for playing along when it comes to the purchase of Alex Pacine from Independiente del Valle. Rope says he has a tremendous right foot. Ask our friend Adam's face. I may do that. No. Alex stepped away. No, and no, you are not. You are not being slandered. No. I was using you because our search engines were being slow. To recap, I was using you as an example when it came to salaries and when it came to fees. When it came to, if say a club, if you were right wing for Independiente del Valle, and I'm sorry that I'm recapping this. So if you had a better value, if you had a higher market value than another player, if you were the highest ranked player at Independiente del Valle, then if I signed you to a 3-year deal or a 5-year deal, I was explaining to Emilio why you would control an asset for 5 years versus 10. And so I used the example of Alex Pacine, winger, Independiente del Valle, who had a $15 million release clause attached to his deal. If I signed him to a 3, I defer that to 5 years, $5 million a year. If I signed you to a 5, it's $3 million a year. Basically, I was discussing average annual value when it came to signing a player for a length of a contract. And so you were a right winger at Independiente del Valle. That's what I was getting into. So I'm sorry that you stepped away and missed you as a hypothetical right winger at IDV. So that's what I was getting into. And Ropes was discussing your tremendous right foot that you have in matches. Ropes will get into Dele Alli and Como and all the news of the morning as we go. Abby is currently waiting for cousins to take out to breakfast who are in for said game. Okay. I hope that they I hope that they didn't pay a lot when it came to their tickets for said game. So yeah. I know that the pool is still going on. That you guys are trying to figure out when it is that there will be an announcement involving certain players. Liam's one girl. Welcome this morning. Liam's one girl. I cannot recall the last time that you were a part of the discussions, but thanks for coming by this morning and being a part of things. And yes, more faster. More faster ropes is an actual word. Why? Because I just said so. Morning, Kefsey, and thanks for dropping in. Pars has not forgotten to make the cookies that we talked about back in November for the beginning of the season. Ricky says the tickets for the get-in, ESPN said 2,300. Four Card says, can you confirm both teams tonight lose? If you both lose, and I'm so in. Yeah, there will be a lot of. I don't know if you guys saw the. If you guys saw the map it was on social media. It was a map of the United States, and for tonight's matchup, you had teams that individual states were rooting for. Obviously, Indiana was painted, I think, green. Ohio State was painted. The state of Ohio, although I don't know much outside the part of Columbus. I don't know how Cincinnati and Cleveland respond to this, but it was painted. I want to say it was painted scarlet or gray, one of the two colors, the state of Ohio. So you had the state of Indiana was painted green. State of Ohio was painted scarlet or gray, one of the two. The rest of the country was painted in a third color. And the key was, okay, color attached rooting for Notre Dame, color attached rooting for Ohio State, and meteor. And so 48 states were rooting for a meteor, although that wouldn't do well for the reconstruction of Mercedes-Benz Stadium. But a lot of folks were rooting. This graphic said meteor when it came to the game tonight of the 7 and the 8 seed, the CFP championship game down at Mercedes-Benz Stadium before they get it ready for the other football coming up in short order. So Ropes is going back and forth with folks. And so, morning, Tom. And it says, Alex, when you get the new contract, can you break us off a small slice? Tom apparently needs a new HVAC system. So I'm hoping that the heater works in the house today. So, and Alex being the absolute team players, like absolutely 100%. Okay. I know that Ropes had mentioned Dele Alli going to Como for a new start. And I know that you guys had also talked about what was going on involving Spurs and that win and everything that's going on in the Premier League. So before we go into the Premier League, let me do this. Let us get into what is going on with the men's national team, because it is Camp Cupcake. As if you had the chance to catch up with Bart and the Soccer for US POD. And so there was a Camp Cupcake where the United States is playing, and you had Saturday's matchup against Venezuela. So for those of you that didn't watch it, here's what happened. It was a 3-1 win for the United States. So U.S. wins it 3-1. Goals by McGlynn, Ajimong, Miljevic, and Iriarte. So it was 3-0, and then with just over 20 to go in front of a crowd of 18,000 plus in Fort Lauderdale, it was a 3-1 win for the U.S. So as we always do, we go to the player ratings over at Soccer America. And here's what was said. Questionable is how much weight strong performances carry against a tame and toothless Venezuela carry, but the players auditioning for a role in the USA Preps cruised through the 3-1 win. In particular, Jack McGlynn made a case for himself with a long-range golazo, an assist on the third, and adept midfield play. Game marked McGlynn's second U.S. appearance after debuting during last year's January camp. The other two goals came from debutants Patrick Ajimong and Matko Miljevic. More on Miljevic coming up in a second. So, 2 experimental squads. Schulte was in net. He got a 5. Like I said, this is from Voitala. So, this is the Mike Voitala numbers. Keep an eye out at the Soccer for US POD for their numbers when it came to Camp Cupcake. The last episode that came out before the matchup this weekend was an analysis of Camp Cupcake, what to look forward to in this particular camp. And I'll tell you what I was looking forward to going into this camp with these numbers. Defenders. So Schulte got a 5. I guess he gives up a goal, you get a 5. The frequent presence upfield of Shaq Moore and Max Arfston kept the Venezuelans under pressure. Neither made a major impact. When Moore lost the ball on a tackle deflected fortuitously to Caden Clark to pass to McGlynn for the first U.S. goal. Central defenders George Campbell and Miles Robinson had few problems intercepting the Vino Tinto's hopeful balls into the middle. Campbell blocked a couple of shots. Robinson got roasted in midfield on Venezuela's best chance when a wide-open Gleeker Mendoza shot wide at the stroke of halftime. Robinson was oddly unresponsive to the corner kick that flew toward him as Jorge Iriarte leaped to head into the U.S. net for the 3-1 goal. Moore was ball watching as Iriarte moved forward toward the ball. Moore finished with a yellow card in stoppage time for mugging Mendoza in Venezuela's half. So, Shaq Moore gets a 4. George Campbell gets a 5. And we have maintained for years here at the network that George Campbell should have been getting reps with the national team. He's finally getting reps with the national team. Just looking forward to seeing how this experience advances his game and what he learns from his time with the U.S. men's national team. Miles Robinson, Voitala gave him a 3. Although it was fun and interesting to have your starting center backs being George Campbell and Miles Robinson. Like I said, something that we've talked about here at the network with you guys and you guys talking to us. Max Arfston got a 5, by the way. Midfield. Much of the USA's flattering 65% possession stat was thanks to Venezuela's inability to string passes together and keep the ball after several times after U.S. midfielders misplayed it. Brian Gutierrez initially combined promisingly with Arfston, never quite found his comfort zone nor the perfect weight on his passes. And this is the other thing. Once again, as we go through Voitala's review, this is a group that has been put together. Like literally, it's like, hey, you want to come? You want to be here? You want to be here? You want to be here? And you're here. That's what you're doing. You're here. And trying to come up with something resembling rhythm in a short term is pretty tough. So, just patience in a January camp. That's what I'm asking for. Caden Clark's smart one-touch pass found McGlynn in a perfect spot to launch his super shot. Kromoski, the youngest U.S. player on the field and among the pool's most intriguing players over the last couple of years, proved troublingly ineffective, perhaps because he was forced to play farther back while Metko Miljevic spearheaded the midfield. When Kromoski beat a defender in the penalty area, lost the ball to the next challenge instead of setting up a teammate shot. Kromoski's played deep with Inter Miami. He's been a part of playing deep when he needs to with Messi and friends. Miljevic recovered from a nightmarish start that included a lamely shot, easily saved penalty, which he decided to take and later apologized for. 29 months after the last time he converted from the spot for CF Montreal. Followed up with some misplayed balls before managing to spring Patrick Adjumong on the breakaway that extended the lead, second goal. In the second half, Miljevic sparked a counterattack, finished wonderfully, half volley from 18 to make it 3. The pass came from man of the match Jack McGlynn, who in addition to his golazo, proved the most composed passer in the squad, moving smoothly into the optimal area. So, Voitala's grades. Caden Clark a 5 in his debut. Kromoski a 4. McGlynn an 8 in his second match. Miljevic a 7, and currently Miljevic is at Huracan. And Brian Gutierrez attached to Chicago Fire in his debut. Forwards. Adjumong made his presence felt with a foray shortly after kickoff. Fouled for the second-minute penalty. Failed to keep possession a couple times with a defender on his back. Broke through swiftly and nutmegged goalkeeper Woodker Farnez for the second goal. Ajimong had a couple more chances to break away that Venezuelan defender successfully stifled. So Woitala gives Ajimong a 6. Substitutes: Luna, Vasilev, Brian White, and others. Emeka Eneli got his first cap, got a 5. Diego Luna got his second, got a 6. Brian White got his second, got a 4. Indiana Vasilev in his debut got a 5, as did DeJuan Jones. And Walker Zimmerman came in for a cameo appearance. One of 3 players, along with Shaq Moore and Tim Ream, who played at the 22 World Cup, made his first USMNT appearance since June of 23. USA hosts Costa Rica on Wednesday in Orlando. So the numbers, once again, here in the camp. Shaq Moore, a 4. George Campbell, a 5. Miles Robinson, a 3. Max Arston, a 5. Caden Clark got a 5. Kromoski, a 4. McGlynn, an 8. Miljevich, a 7. Gutierrez, a 4. And Patrick Ajimong got a 6. Your scores for the subs: Eneli, a 5. Luna, a 6. White, a 4. Vasilev and DeJuan Jones, 5s. Walker Zimmerman got an incomplete. So in this match, Indiana Vasilev makes his debut. Brian White got his second cap, as did Diego Luna. Emeka Eneli gets his first cap. Patrick Ajimong got his first cap and his first start. Gutierrez his first appearance. Miljevich his first. McGlynn his second. Kromoski his second. Caden Clark his first. And Patrick Schulte his third. Backline: George Campbell a debut. Max Arston a debut. So that's what happened on the weekend for that particular squad. I will be continually intrigued with folks like Diego Luna. Definitely will be intrigued by Patrick Ajimong. I hope that Patrick Ajimong continues to give the appearances that will be worthy of more appearances, if that makes any sense. And then seeing McGlynn do well, Kromoski continue to get camp call-ups, Caden Clark with a debut. And then once again, George Campbell and Miles Robinson. You know, what did we say a couple of years ago that we were looking forward to that? And we finally got it? George Campbell in Montreal, Miles Robinson in Cincinnati. And Emilio, to your point, Emilio says it feels like Miles might have cracked his ceiling. I think, and this is a conversation that I've had with others here at the network, I think that if it does not happen this year for Miles, if Miles does not go overseas, sorry, I was checking to see, for those watching on video, I was checking to see if the internet was behaving, but it's not. If Miles Robinson, if it does not happen for him this year, someone from Europe comes calling, I don't know if he goes. I really don't know if he goes. So that, to me, is one of the things that I will be looking out for to end a sentence in a preposition. With Miles and his current contract, will someone be interested in having Miles Robinson be a part of their European club? And right now, once again, Miles's contract is for this season. Got an extension at the end of last year for this season. So, New Year's Eve, at the end of this discussion, New Year's Eve, Miles Robinson has something to think about. Hopefully, from Miles's perspective, if Europe is a place that he wants to go, and put that into the discussion too. Miles has this year to perform at a level where European clubs would be interested in Miles to bring him over there to be a part of their defense. So for Miles, I think that this year is that year. Do you show up? Do you show out? Do you want to stay in Major League Soccer? Do you want to continue here working domestically on your game, or do you do you feel like you need to challenge yourself and want to challenge yourself overseas, as we thought that he wanted to a couple of years ago? I think that this is the season for Miles. Like I said, I think Jarrett and I don't think I'm talking out of school. I think Jarrett and I have been discussing Miles Robinson to that point. That this is, I think, the year for Miles to figure out, okay, do I want to keep doing the 1-year deal in Cincinnati? Do I want a longer-term deal? Or is this 1-year deal, and like I said, literally, New Year's Eve, that's it. Got the contract extension for this year. Is this season something where in June, July, in that secondary window, toward the end of the secondary window, or in June or July, does Miles sit there and tell FC Cincinnati, you know what, I'm good? I'm going to sign a pre-contract with Team X. So that is a question for me where Miles is concerned. Miles, are you good? Or Miles, what do you want to do next? Do you want to stay here in Major League Soccer? Do you want to go and see what's going on? Prop bet winner, Kefsey? Am I going to have to sit here and look for information? As I sit here and look for Atlanta United? It's Derek Williams' birthday. That was the last thing that was posted. So Kefsey won a prop bet. Nothing has been posted on the Atlanta United website. What's the prop bet? Is the prop bet something having to do? Oh, in the negative sense, no. Oh, okay. By the way, block party at the Old Fourth Ward Skate Park on Saturday for those of you that want to go and hang out. But no, so nothing from Atlanta United. Don't scare me like that. Don't scare me like that. That with all of these things going on, that I've got to sit here and try and figure out what's up. Oh, picks of the week. Okay, picks of the week. I've been horrendous in picks of the week. Absolutely horrendous. Okay, so now, gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Today, that's what we're chasing after now. And we'll go over what happened in the Premier League on the weekend. We'll get into that and anything else on your mind as we go here for the remainder of the show today. Once again, tomorrow we are chasing a guest on the other side of the Atlantic, and we will catch up with him, hopefully, about Almiron, Latte Loth, Odson Edward, all of those kinds of things and anything else going on from the Premier League from the weekend that happened. I do want to chase a quote from Ruben Amorim as we go into the Premier League discussion, where he says we're the worst side in United's history. So if it's not too late, put me in the Discord. So include me in the Discord conversation. Ruben Amorim said we're the worst side in Manchester United history. And I also know that after what happened to Spurs, that Ange Postecoglou is probably looking at a short-term career dissipation light off his left shoulder. But we'll get into the Ruben Amorim quote coming up in a bit. Manchester City considering a loan move for Douglas Luiz, though Juve are pressing for an obligation to buy to be included in the deal. Clubs in Saudi Arabia are still interested in bringing in Vinicius Jr. into the country, with the league's chief executive saying a move is a matter of time. When an executive says a move is a matter of time, that could mean this year, could mean 2 or 3 years, could mean 7 years from now. But yeah, I mean, when your chief executive says it's only a matter of time, that to me means, yeah, we'd love for it to happen. Don't know if it's going to happen this year or not. Could be 5 years from now, but he says, oh, it's only a matter of time. But you put that out there, and you're interested. So there you go. Santos. Now, this was the other thing. Florian Plettenberg brought this up yesterday. So it appears, and this was also brought in the Twitch pitch this morning, that Neymar is not going to Chicago. Despite apparently Joe Mansueto and Chicago Fire front office folks flying to Saudi Arabia, it is apparently not going to be the case that Neymar is coming to Major League Soccer. Neymar coming to Major League Soccer is its own discussion. But according to Plettenberg, Santos are in talks to bring Neymar back to the club. He'll be allowed to leave Al Hilal immediately. It would be initial thoughts were that this was going to be a 6-month loan. And it was going to be something where I'm sure if Neymar had convenient injuries attached to parties and such, that it would not be a problem. Santos will navigate it. Everything will be fine. But initially, it looks like it was going to be a 6-month loan. Now it looks like that if Santos and Neymar and Al Hilal can all agree, they'll wad up the contract and throw it in the corner and maybe set it aflame. And so Santos are in talks to bring Neymar back to the club. AC Milan have contacted Chelsea about signing Joao Felix. That's from Calcio Mercato. Juve interested in Renato Vega and Ben Chilwell. Keep an eye on that. Chelsea want £40 million for Trevoh Chalobah after recalling him from a loan spell at Crystal Palace. 3-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Another fringe player, according to the BBC. Cesare Casade could be on his way to Lazio after the two clubs moved closer on their valuations. That's from Sky Italy. Sunday's 3-1 defeat at Brighton expected to be the last game for Antony. It appears that Antony has agreed with Manchester United on a verbal agreement on a loan move to Real Betis. That came from Fabrizio Romano. Eric Ten Hag could replace Nuri Sahin at Dortmund if they lose against Bologna in Champions League on Tuesday. Once again, Florian Plettenberg, very busy man. Manchester United and Chelsea will compete with Bayern for the signing of Jamie Gittins this summer. Real Madrid ready to give up on their pursuit of Alphonso Davies, who's nearing an agreement to extend his contract at Bayern Munich. Juve interested in bringing Lloyd Kelly to Italy 7 months after he arrived from Bournemouth on a free. It looks like that is now not going to happen, involving Lloyd Kelly and Newcastle and Juve. It looks like Kelly is going to stay. Lower division stuff. Sunderland close to signing Westerlo forward Mattia Frigan. Sunderland preferring a loan move. Belgian club looking for a permanent. West Brom in the final stages for a standard Liège midfielder, the club's first signing under Tony Mowbray. Portsmouth agreeing on a deal for Hayden Matthews out of Australia. Burnley and Sheffield United among clubs interested in Rangers forward Tom Lawrence. 4-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Hull City have agreed to a deal on Elliot Matazo. 4-year contract on offer. Personal terms, they're still trying to work them out. Preston North End interested in a left back out of contract. North End also closing in on a 29-year-old defender. Lincoln City in advanced talks on Derby County striker James Collins. Bolton on Gethin Jones. Bromley considering a move for Jack Tucker. Only 9 League Two appearances so far this season for him. Now, what to watch, where to watch it, where to watch it from our friends at Soccer America. It'd be nice if I could actually type it. Yes, you can. Fine, whatever. All right, so soccer on TV. We do have Monday Night Football, by the way. We do. Right, for members only. How about signing in? Signing me in would be a good thing. Sign me in. How about if I sign in with Google? You think that everything like remembers who you are and where you are? Fine, I won't use you. I'll use another one. So I will use another device and just stick my tongue out in general at what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. See, got there, and you didn't have anything to do with it. All right. So we do have Monday Night Football, but we also have, and this is also a way to promote what's going on, BN with the Turkish Super League at noon, Trabzonspor and Sivasspor, BN and BN Espanol simulcasting. If you don't have the BNs, if you don't have TIC, Nuestra Tele, CDO, for the fans, Liga 1 Max Pro, Liga 1 Max, and I'm sure that there are some others that I'm forgetting. You can get them at Fanatiz, fntz.co/soccer down here. And what you can do with that is turn into a true sicko. You can watch all the French league. You can watch the Turkish Super League. You can watch South America, all the points in between. You can watch it at Fanatiz, fntz.co/soccer down here, and you can get all the leagues and watch all the stuff. So FS2 has the league that we neither condone, endorse, nor promote. They've got a game at noon. Chelsea and Wolves is your 3 o'clock, by the way. That's on USA for starters. ESPN Deportes has Villarreal and Mallorca at 3. Fox Deportes has the league that we don't talk about at noon. Liga MX Femenil, Juarez and Pumas at 10 o'clock. A club friendly on Gold TV, Nacional and Peñarol. Maybe our buddy Nino Torres will be on the call for that one at 6:30. Universo is simulcasting the Premier League match, as well as NBCSports.com. ESPN Plus has Spanish La Liga with Villarreal and Mallorca at 3. Paramount Plus has Como and Udinese. We'll get into Dele Alli coming up in a second at 2:45. In the Major Arena Soccer League at 9:35, the Empire Strikers, San Diego Sockers at 9:35. VIX has Liga MX Pachuca and Santos Laguna at 8 o'clock. And so that is what to watch, where to watch it, and how to watch it, and be up to date with all the things. So that's their way to do it. So Dele Alli and Como. And I know that a lot of folks who have been following the career of Dele Alli really have been hoping that he would be in a place where he could get a fresh start. And it appears that it is going to be at Como where that would be the place where that's going to be. And I think it's an 18-month deal, so we'll keep an eye on that. Darmish Seth and Melissa Reddy on Marcus Rashford, a deal to leave Manchester United in this window looking increasingly difficult because AC Milan is looking for Kyle Walker over Marcus Rashford. And remember, you can only have a certain amount of EU players attached and certain amount of players from all the other places. But it looks like it's going to be Kyle Walker getting priority at AC Milan. Marcus Rashford still looking for a home. Galatasaray made contact over Emerson Royal. Diego Carlos is close to a Villa exit from Fenerbahce. Talks have been about a £10 million deal. Started 8 Premier League matches for Villa, but has not featured in 2025. 18 months left on his deal. Manchester United in talks to sign Lecce left back Patrick Dorgu. And this is where we'll get into the Ruben Amorim quote about them being the worst side ever coming up in a second. Dorgu, who had been monitored by Tottenham and Chelsea, understood to want the move to Manchester United. More affordable than the other options, Nuno Mendes from PSG and Milos Kerkesh from Bournemouth. As the Sky had said upon Ruben Amorim's appointment, left wing back has been circled as the priority position and was the one transfer highly likely to happen in this window, regardless of the club situation, exploring a series of other possibilities in different positions depending on outgoings. Garnacho has not actively been looking to leave Manchester United in this window. He says he's happy. Napoli are under the impression they would need to add another 20 to the 40 that they've already put on the table for Garnacho. So 60 million would be on the table. Dorgu would cost them 30. So that's where Manchester United is. Looks like Sheffield United have confirmed the re-signing of Ben Brereton Diaz on loan from Southampton. Southampton loaning out Ben Brereton Diaz. Southampton loaning out Ben Brereton Diaz, one of the quality scorers in the championship and in the lower sections of the Premier League when he is there. I find that intriguing. I do. I really find that intriguing. Ben Brereton Diaz, an underrated talent if he's put in the proper situation. Thomas Gwynn, good morning. Morning, Thomas. Thomas thinks that, it looks like it is looking like Santos on a loan, at least a 6-month loan to start. But it does look like Al Hilal and Neymar would rip up their contract, and it would be a chance for Neymar to go back to Santos. They're obviously looking at personal terms and trying to figure that out. So that is where that is. Now, Ruben Amorim, I know that we wanted to get into that. Dele Alli, once again, according to the Times, it's an 18-month deal to be there for to be there with Fabregas. So Ruben Amorim said this, and that scream that you heard is probably Drew for a 3D. From Charlotte Dunker and Paul Hurst. What is it we always say about multiple writers in a byline? From the Times, Ruben Amorim described his Manchester side as the worst in the club's history after they fell to their 10th Premier League defeat of the season. 3-1 loss at home to Brighton left him stuck in 13th in the table and means that the Portuguese head coach has won only 3 of his 11 league games in charge so far. Team are breaking all manner of negative records, but perhaps the most damning is that it was their 6th home league defeat of the season. The most from their opening 12 home matches since the 1893-1894 campaign. That is 131 years ago. That's how bad Manchester United is right now, at least with the negative records. 131 years of pursuit, and that's where they are right now. When United were called Newton Heath and played at Bank Street, 4 of those 6 defeats have come under Amorim. Quote, in the last 9 games in the Premier League, we won 2. I know that. Imagine what this is for a fan of Manchester United. Imagine what this is for me. We are getting a new coach who is losing more than the last coach. And by the way, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has a new job. Just mentioning other former coaches. We're getting a new coach who's losing more than the last coach. I have full knowledge of that. I'm not going to change no matter what. And this will lead us into the Ange Postecoglou conversation coming up. No updates on rumors of Miggy or Latte Lath. Biggest thing that we came into was one of the SDH sources looking at, it's just personal terms right now with Miggy that they're looking after. They're trying to figure all that out. And for Latte Lath, Michael Carrick says that apparently, and this came from T-Side Live, 1, he's still going to play him. 2, it looks like there are no other offers for Latte Lath. The number posted is 18 plus 2. And Odson Edward apparently cooled on the notion of being in Major League Soccer, so that might have gone away totally. So that's where we are. And Amorim continues. Sorry. Sidebar for Thomas, but we're back. Quote, I know we can succeed, but we need to survive this moment. I'm not naive. We need to survive now. We are the worst team maybe in the history of Manchester United. I know you want headlines, but I'm saying that because we have to acknowledge that, and to change that, here you go, your headlines. So Ruben Amorim basically laid it all out there. You want a headline? I'll give you a headline. We're the worst team maybe in the history of Manchester United. So for those of us that want to get the Newton Heath T-shirts, I'm sure they exist somewhere. So Amorim has put it out there. Dunker and Hurst continue after that quote. Amorim does not need a recital of all the bad records the club are breaking. 4 defeats in his past 5 games at Old Trafford, and is very aware of the situation his team finds themselves in. Lessons from these past few weeks have not been positive for the 39-year-old. Quote, the opponents are better than us in many details. That we cannot be consistent, that I'm not helping my players in the moment. He replied when asked what he's taken away from these displays. Quote, it's a hard moment. You have to acknowledge that we are in a very difficult situation. Without all the bad records, as losing games at home, losing games in the Premier League, we are really underperforming, and we need to win games. That's all. But do not expect to see him change his ideology, no matter how badly his team continue to perform. There is still a persistence that his 3-4-3 is the answer, and that with more time on the training pitch, they can be a success. He admitted there's a nervousness to his players due to their form, and that the only way to turn that around is by picking up wins. Next opportunity comes with the visit of Rangers Thursday night in Europa League. Times actually did do the research. In statistical terms, United's worst ever team is almost certainly the one from the 33-34 season. The one that was 30, 66, 91 years ago. Not 131, but 91. 20th in the second division, worst league finish since becoming part of the original first division in 1892. Lost 7-3 to Grimsby on Boxing Day. Could have been worse as they went into the last game in one of the relegation spots, but put on the best performance of the campaign at Millwall. 2-0 victory in front of 24,000, enough to stave off relegation to Division 3. So there is a club that is 91 years away. That is bad. Not as bad as the one, the worst one is 91 years away, not the one 131 years away that Amarim was mentioning. Kessie. Man, you not appreciating competent managers? You don't say. Well, Happy Moyes is home. Kefsey, another part of the Evertonian brigade. Liam's one girl. Miggy's wife just posted a photo with a suitcase. Hashtag conspiracy, hashtag Miggy watch. Now, the next question, before we drift into the Ange Postecoglou part, about where things are with Spurs. Thomas wants to know, if we sign Miggy now, I think we can wait on a striker, just roll the Jamal, the Nut Kyogo, and the false nine-ish guys until summer, at which point we may be going back to Kyogo. Kyogo right now is tied to Rennes in Ligue 1. And don't know if that's going to go down or not. But that is where Kyogo watch is leaning. And what you want to do is, obviously, for the sake of your training camp and this window, I think the biggest thing for Middlesbrough is trying to line up the replacements so you can let Emmanuel Latelat go. That's the biggest thing. That is one of their larger concerns, is trying to find what Middlesbrough can bring to the table in the way of substitute strikers once you end up with Latelat supposedly leaving for 18+2. So what I'm going to do is see if Middlesbrough has any transfer news on the board this morning and see if what that may be like. Let's see. Hoping to complete. That's all right. So Middlesbrough hoping to complete a loan signing of a keeper. You have the Middlesbrough fans not really a fan of what happened this past weekend. Middlesbrough have bid in the region of $5 million for Morgan Whitaker. Bid not expected to be accepted, as way below what Plymouth Argyle view Morgan Whitaker at. So could they bring in Morgan Whitaker? That comes from Alan Nixon, $5 million plus add-ons for the winger. So that would give you a winger as opposed to someone up top. Borough are looking to bring the Derby-born forward to the Riverside this January. As once again, Middlesbrough right now 7th in the table. With what happened this past weekend, they're now in the fight to get into the promotion playoff. So what we're seeing at the moment is a keeper and a winger for Middlesbrough. Those are the two names or the two positions that are on the board. So a highly rated winger and a keeper to help things out. Nothing involving a 9. So we'll see what that means for Middlesbrough and the chase for Emmanuel Latelat for Atlanta United going forward. All right. Ange Postecoglou. I know we need to get into that because I mentioned it. So Ange Postecoglou, and this is where the Evertonian fans can sit here in the Twitch pitch and they can revel in what happened this past weekend. And by the way, fix your fantasy, fix your fantasy, fix your fantasy. I'm having a miserable 2-week period because I'm in the process of thinking if I should trade out Erling Haaland for Mo Salah, and I traded out Justin Kluivert as a part of all of that. So what does Kluivert do? He gets a hat trick. So that's my fantasy recap for the weekend. Ange Postecoglou staring down the barrel. Once again, this comes from our friends at the Times and Paul Joyce. After the Spurs' abject loss to Everton, Daniel Levy watched the match. Goals from Calvert-Lewin and Njai and Gray at 45 plus 7. It was 3-0 at the break. Kulishevsky and Richarlison in 77 and 90 plus 2 made it close, but it was 3-0 at the half. Everton had christened the fixture Retro Day, where you could wear your old kits. To our Evertonians in the Twitch pitch, did you wear your random Evertonian kit to watch the match? Rush of goals, sort of front foot display reminiscent of Moyes' first spell, and even a strike from Gray at the back post. Sadly, for a ramshackle Tottenham Hotspur side, it was Archie Gray with an own goal. Completed arguably the worst half they have produced under Ange Postecoglou. Increasingly, though, there is some competition for that dubious claim. Forget the late comeback, which allowed the final scoreline to create the illusion of a closely fought affair. That, in its own way, was even more damning, given the insipid fare served up before then. Tottenham continued to plumb the depths. Structural deficiencies around Postecoglou's decision to switch to a back three compounded what is a lengthy injury list and allowed Everton to score 3 goals in one half, having managed only 5 in their previous 11 league matches. Amid the wreckage of a Spurs run that has now yielded only 1 win in 10 Premier League games, which came against Southampton, chants of "we want Levy out" were audible. As Daniel Levy, the club's chairman, came under scrutiny, the glare of the spotlight will encompass not only the boardroom but also the dugout, given the runaround the visiting team endured against their energized hosts. Postecoglou, of course, has a first-leg Carabao Cup semifinal lead over Liverpool in the bag, as well as a Europa League campaign that offers possibilities, and that should not be forgotten. Yet the sight of his players unable to perform the basics was alarming, and the difference in attitude and application was where the game was won and lost. Nowhere was that better summed up than with the excellent Jesper Lindstrom. That is not a name that I anticipated having on the show this morning. Jesper Lindstrom. Moyes has previous experience with the winger, none of it particularly positive. Lindstrom had played for Eintracht Frankfurt that knocked West Ham out in the semis of the Europa League in 22 before beating Rangers in the final. He's been on the periphery of games since his loan move from Napoli last summer. Often looked like he lacked the physical attributes to thrive in England. Here, Lindstrom was winning tackles, taking shots, delivering free kicks and crosses, and generally making his presence felt, especially in the build-up to the first and third goals. The ovation he was afforded when substituted should inspire him to maintain those standards. So too Dominic Calvert-Lewin. For the breakthrough, he took a cute pass. Cute. It was a cute pass. A cute pass. Idrissa Gueye turned Gray inside and out, also bamboozling Radu Dragusin and the returning Ben Davis before finishing with a plum to the right of Antonin Kinski when the Tottenham keeper may have expected him to aim for the gap to his left. Certainly was not the strike of someone dispatching his first goal since September to end a barren run that had extended to 1,225 minutes. Missed chances, but represented an overdue step forward. Moyes said of Calvert-Lewin, biggest thing is he played like a proper number 9. Made the center halves worried, etc. Postecoglou had lamented his players' mindset after the North London derby defeat by Arsenal. But even with the raft of absences, Solanke, Johnson, and Bissouma now joining the ranks of walking wounded, head coach has to play his part, ensuring that's right. No hard luck story for Spurs. So the question is, and this was something that had been raised on the air as I was driving home. How much time does Ange Postecoglou have left? Is it Liverpool? Is it the Gummy Bear Cup? Is it Europa? Or are they done? That would be the big question. But Ange Postecoglou says it's up to me to get Tottenham out of this. And that's totally understood. It is time for him to get Spurs out of this. The larger question in all of that would be, what is that timetable involving Ange Postecoglou? Ruben Amorim admits Manchester United is the worst team ever in 131 years. So the Palace intrigue is there, and I'm not meaning Crystal. On Ange Postecoglou, how much patience does Daniel Levy have? And for Manchester United, how much patience does a new ownership group have that brought in Ruben Amorim? I'm hoping that Drew Dickinson can bring his thoughts to the fore in his next 3D. But the screaming that you hear on a consistent basis involving Manchester United has to do with Drew Dickinson. Other things involving other transfers. Liverpool are eyeing Ryan Cherky. Lyon giving the green light for a potential exit. The battle for Garnacho is still open. Santos confident about a loan deal with Neymar. Now waiting for the response from Al Hilal. So Sheffield United set to win the race for Tom Cannon. That comes from Ben Jacobs early this morning. I'm sitting here and I'm trying to scan to see if there's any other news when it comes to these kinds of things. Now, remember, Neymar signed for Al Hilal from PSG for $98.6 million. That's an interesting room temperature signing back in 2023, and earns an annual salary of around $100 million a year. The most expensive footballer of all time now has a choice. Al Hilal have decided not to register him for the second half of the season with his injuries. Still not ready to play. Have been a problem, as well as the fact he's taking one spot amongst the quota of foreign players who are allowed in the squad. Al Hilal want Neymar to play at the Club World Cup in the summer, according to Julien Laurent at the Four Letter. However, Neymar doesn't want to stay until June without playing regularly, feels it's the right time to go. Since his transfer 18 months ago, he has managed 7 games. 7 games in all competitions. 1 goal. 7 matches, 1 goal. Santos CEO Pedro Martins wanted to rule out a loan recently, but now everything has been popped up involving Neymar. So, once again, keep an eye on that. It looks like he's heading back home to see what's up. Manchester City considering whether to continue the January recruitment by adding a midfielder. We mentioned Patrick Dorgu and Lecce. And Diego Carlos, Aston Villa. Chelsea are set to sign Mamadou Sarr from Bluco-owned Strasbourg. Teenage defender. An agreement's in place over a €14 million deal for Chelsea to sign the center back at the end of the 24-25 season. So you've got that. All right. So Premier League this past, yeah, that is a lot of money. Thomas is square, no doubt. Thomas is square, right on. That's a lot of money for 7 appearances and 1 goal. Yeah. So, all right. So let's do the math. Do I have? Let me grab a piece of paper. And all right. So if it's 7 appearances $98.6 million. So let's do some long division here. And that's going to be pretty painful with me. All right, so 7, 28. So basically right at $14 million a match. $14 million per match. So $14 million a match. So if at $14 million a match, I'm trying to think of what that would be a minute, but that's a little too much. But anyway, $14 million a match. What are you getting paid per minute? 90 into 140 is 90. Let me see if I can do this right, because now I'm really trying to figure out 450. So it's $155,556 a minute. That's what Neymar is getting paid per minute under that $98.6 million contract. Hey, 98.6. You got one goal in 7 matches. You're not ready to play, and you're getting paid $155,556 per minute. Per minute. Congratulations. Well done by you. Rest of what happened in the Premier League, by the way. Like I said, tomorrow we're efforting a guest who knows about everything that's going on in the Premier League, and we will try and – how did my fantasy team do, by the way? I don't know if we did very well. Okay, well, we're slightly above average. All right, with 1 match to go. Good deal. All right, so the Premier League, what happened on the weekend? And we'll get into all the other stories that we need to discuss before we get out of here. Once again, Everton 3-2 over Spurs. Brighton 3-1 over Manchester United. We talked about Nottingham Forest, by the way, had a 3-0 lead on Southampton, 1-3-2. Manchester City put 6 on Ipswich. It was 3 in the first half, 3 in the second half, and it got pretty bad. Bournemouth with the 4-1 win. Kluivert with the Hattie. Liverpool 2-0 over Brentford. Fulham 2-0 over Leicester. Crystal Palace 2-0 over West Ham. Arsenal and Villa 2-2 draw. So that was the 5 and the 4 that happened, and you have, once again, you've got Monday Night Football coming up here at 3 o'clock. So right now, match week 22, a couple of teams have only played 21. Liverpool 6 points clear. Manchester City has 14 points left on the table this season from winning positions. If they get 6 of that 14, they are in 3rd place. If they get 9 of that 14, they are in 2nd. They're a match. They're a win behind, and Liverpool would have a match in hand. 14 points from winning positions left on the table by Manchester City this season. Arsenal at 44, ahead of Forest on goal difference. Manchester City ahead of Newcastle on goal difference in the battle for 4th. Chelsea's at 37 points ahead of Bournemouth on goal difference. Bournemouth. And Donny Iraola, I was not sold. I initially was not, but he is doing really well. He's being left alone by Bill Foley and the management there. But Bournemouth's in 7th right now. They haven't lost in their last 5. Villa's in 8th at 36. Brighton's at 34. Fulham at 33. And that's the group. That gets you to 11th. Then there's a gap. And this is the other group. Brentford at 28, Palace at 27, Manchester United at 26, West Ham at 26, but well behind on goal difference. Spurs at 24. Spurs are closer to the relegation zone than they are Europe. To get into European spots right now, they're 13 points out of Europe. 13 points out of Conference League. 8 points out of getting relegated. They're not going to get relegated. Stop it. United's not going to get relegated. West Ham's not going to get relegated. Spurs aren't going to get relegated. But that gets us to 16th in Everton. Everton, 1 win in their last 5, but once again, new coach. Wolves, right now, match week 22 is today. They've done well. I mean, they have 2 wins and a draw in their last 5. But they're still only ahead of Ipswich. Going into yesterday, They were ahead of Ipswich on goals scored. Now it's back to goal difference because of the hammering that Manchester City gave them. But right now, Ipswich, Leicester, within goals and 2 points of being out of the relegation zone. So I think it's Everton, Wolves, Ipswich, Leicester, 4 for 2. That's where we're going to be for the remainder of the year. Southampton's only won once in their first 22. They've given up 50 goals already this season. So keep an eye on Southampton and see if they do a sell-off when it comes to everything. All right. Now, what are you folks talking about at The Athletic? Let me see if I can guess it before I can dial it up. Let me see if I can figure it out. Let me see if I can get there. Let me see if I can hang on. All right, so The Athletic FC. So Liam and Ricky don't want to talk about it. That's fine. I don't want that. No, I don't want that. This is what I want. Okay. All right. So let's see if we can find out. And Thomas is agreeing with me about the Southampton ownership and selling off and getting ready to start over because it has been a bad season. Russell Martin, people were mad about Russell Martin, and there was one particular loss where fans were bent out of shape about Martin sticking with his system, and that didn't go well. West Ham have submitted an offer worth £57 million for a villa for Jean Duran. Remember when Jean Duran was with Chicago Fire? Wasn't that like just yesterday? 57 and ads rejected, expected to be, with a contract to 2030. Real Madrid is to be without right back Lorenzo Aguado, unavailable as he was not included on Madrid's A list for UEFA competition, ineligible for the B list due to his age. West Ham closing in on an agreement with Chelsea to reunite Kyle McCauley with Graham Potter. Chelsea, we talked about Mamadou Sarr. Let's see. Arsenal, a season has required Mikel Arteta to find solutions for old problems. Diego Carlos, Dele Alli, Dorgu. What did I miss? Okay, so you guys are all right. So I could not find what you guys were looking for. Please share. Tell me what's going on. Okay, so trying to think about what else. What did I miss this morning? What did I miss? We talked about the Premier League. We talked about. Let's run through all the other stories. Silly me. It's like, where am I going? It's like I haven't gone far enough this morning. Let's go through some of the other headlines. Okay, so Postacoglu on thin ice, once again from our friends at The Guardian. That's not necessarily a shock. Let's see. Mbappe double elevates Real Madrid to the top of the ladder. This is the European roundup. Everton piling the pressure on Postacoglu. I know you guys are happy about that, so nothing there. Looked at that paper. Looked at that one. Which one am I missing? That one. Okay, so quickly before we get out of here, sorry about the rambling and trying to figure out what it was that I was trying to talk about at points. Let's see. West Ham, Yannick Sinner. There's tennis. Oliver Brown from The Telegraph says Ruben Amorim is right to savage Manchester United. The wastrels have been indulged too long. And apparently Tom Morgan caught up with Roman Abramovich because apparently he's living in exile in Turkey. So Tom Morgan has found him. He has found Roman Abramovich, and apparently he's living the life of luxury in Turkey with whatever assets aren't frozen. Apparently, and so Ange Postecoglou, but before we get out of here, a BBC reporter, or a reporter, sorry, it was posted on BBC. Ange Postecoglou clashed with a broadcast journalist. So the broadcast journalist, when the match is over, starts his question with, Ange, familiar story. Postecoglou, great way to start an interview. So, Postacoglu says, I separate myself from the pressure. It's not about me, but what is about me right now is I have the responsibility of the group of players I do have to try and get us through this, and that's what I've got to focus on. For me to focus on anything else is abstaining myself from the responsibility I have. I'm just determined to get us out of this. So West Ham is looking to pick up a deal on Jean Duran, and that's where we are. Let me see one last time if there's anybody that I missed and see what's going on. You guys have a great Everton discussion going on. And so Miggy's wife just posted a photo with a suitcase. Once again, this is Liam's one girl. Miggy's wife just posted a photo with a suitcase. Hashtag conspiracy, hashtag Miggy watch. So we'll keep an eye on that. Once again, tomorrow we'll talk about more of the news of the morning. We'll get into all the other stories from the weekend, get you ready for the week. Once again, we got Atlanta United. We got Chattanooga FC. That's on Friday. We might have something for you. We'll keep you posted. For those of you that are traveling and might want to stay in the city, either leading into, after the match, one or the other, we'll figure it out. But keep an eye on that. We'll keep an eye on all of that. Thanks to all. Yes, Ricky? Oh, Bogert. So, of course, I'm trying to sit here and look like I'm going to end the show. And now you've got Bogert coming after me. I mean, why? Why does this not surprise? All right, hang on. Chelsea yes. Chelsea recalling Caleb Wiley from his loan at Strasbourg due to injury. 7 appearances, limited by multiple injuries. The latest, a separated shoulder. So, yeah, he's going back. This was kind of what we were looking at and what we were thinking was going to happen. He's going back because when you have an injury, you're going to have it treated by the parent club, because the move that Caleb was to Strasbourg was to get him minutes, and it was to get him acclimated to European soccer. So this is a move for Caleb to go back to Chelsea, to go back and rehabilitate the shoulder and see where he can be at 100%. So we'll keep an eye on Caleb Wiley to Chelsea, but this is somewhat injury-based, because once again, you're dealing with an injury, a separated shoulder that happened in his first match back, by the way. He was injured initially, came back, first match back, injured his shoulder, separated it, only played 45 minutes, and he's been out ever since. That's why he's only got 7 matches on his belt at Strasbourg. So the treatment that Caleb is getting is by the parent club. They want to be there. They want to keep an eye on things. It won't be treatment at Strasbourg. So to get the shoulder back to 100%, this makes sense that Caleb is getting recalled. I don't know how healthy, where he is in his recovery, but this is to get him to 100% and be kept an eye on for the parent club, Chelsea. So once again, separated shoulder injury, recovering, go back to full recovery with your parent club so they can keep an eye on you. So that's kind of where this is. And we'll see what happens when Caleb is 100% healthy. Does he stay at Chelsea, or does he go? Does he get loaned someplace else at the end of the year? Does he stay there for the second half of the season? So we'll keep an eye on that. Okay. So I caught up with you before the show was over. I caught up with what you guys were trying to get to. So anyway, all right. Back at it again tomorrow, 9:05, a little less than 22. And we'll go over everything that we didn't get into today, all the storylines that happened today, get you ready for Atlanta United and Chattanooga, all of that stuff, all this week. So once again, efforting guests from the other side of the pond, all of your thoughts. Thanks for hanging out for a Reaction Monday. And I'm off to go and make sure that the boss and her surgery goes the way it's supposed to go. So from all of us to all of you, thanks for hanging out, as you always do here on a Reaction Monday. Back at it again, 9:05 tomorrow morning, East Coast time, and we'll talk about stuff. That's the official term. So mucha platiel, play it safe. We'll see you tomorrow. And since it's the end of the show, that means I get to